So now we will refer that processing the source code. After that, Arduino generated this output every second. This processing will get this output stored into the file. So because it's Arduino just displayed as the serial port, that's all that we cannot capture this one. So we will use processing to capture all that data and store into the CSV file, which is comparable to Excel for next analysis. Then let's take a look at the processing source code line by line. The same way that we will open the processing IDE and open the processing sensing data source file. And still it's too small that the font, so we'd like to enlarge the font. So we will select the edit, select all. And the same way that we'd like to select the preference menu and then enlarge the font size from 12 to 24 two times. Then now it's more easy to read, and there is so many comments. So this software will store that Arduino output to the .csv file. The first thing is to read that the serial library, import the serial library to get the output, the Arduino output, so that and resolve the table, data table, so that we will put the output into the table. And define minimal interval 5. It means that we will put this information, the 5-minute interval. Non-reading means that the new variable. The non-reading variable means that after we get accumulated 100 row, then we will generate a new file. So it means that we will generate after 5 row, then after 5 minutes we will generate 1 row, and after we accumulate 100 row we will generate a new file, and we will store the file and generate a new file. It means that every 500 minutes we will generate a file, and after that we will open the new file. The next variable reading counter is the internal variable to count the 0 to the 100, the non-reading. And next variable is Boolean value, record flag. Boolean means that true or false, that we just a logical logical operator. The reason that I resolved this record flag is that, as I mentioned, that Arduino will generate every second information, but our interval, the data is 5 minutes, so we don't need to keep every second for 5 minutes. We just store the first 5 minutes the record. So in order to distinguish the first is the output, I will use the record flag. I will explain the more detail in the next code. And next we will resolve the new variable name is a file name mentioned before. Every 100 readings, so we will generate the new file based on the unique name. And processing also have a similar structure to Arduino. That first step is the setup function, which is the initialize the value and set up the value for that running the program. And first thing is the port name. The port name is a serial.list, the second array. That it is depending on your Arduino, that check your Arduino port menu to run port, and if in my case this is the second, the Arduino board is the second port, so I put the second. But you have to check your own Arduino port and then open the menu to run port, then put your number. Let's see my Arduino, the IDE, and then I can select the port number. Next thing we have to define the my port variable and the new serial and this and port name what we check in our Arduino port and then we set the baud rate 9600 because we already reserved the 9600 baud rate the Arduino. We have to synchronize the same number as the Arduino, and then processing can communicate fluently. And after that, let's make a table that the object by new table and put it into the data table variable. And next step is to make each column. First thing is that add column ID, and second column is the year and month, day, hour, minute. And next we will put the output from the Arduino, and first value is a first wind sensors voltage, and second is a wind speed, and third is the second nanometers voltage, and fourth is the speed and humidity and temperature as you see. And this six value is from Arduino, from the three sensor, 2 nanometer and 1 temperature and humidity sensor. And this is a header value for the Excel that we reserve that this column for Excel, actually the CSV file. Then after that we will draw means that we will run and put the value itself with running the program. Now the first thing is to read line by line. Can you remember that the Arduino, every line that is println means that it's carriage return value. So we will distinguish each row based on the escape and its carriage return and put it into each row into the string var variable, and check the conditional operator that if value is not null, and trim the unused value if there is, so that we will use trim the function to eliminate the exceptional value. Now we will put the sensor value is the same variable array, so that using the split using the comma, you can remember that Arduino put the comma for separate for each value I print. So this function will get each six value into the variable the array sensor array and separate by the comma. Now let's take a more carefully to look at the source code that if minute modulated the minute interval is not 0, it means that as we mentioned, the min interval we set 5 minutes, so that 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, it does not work. This means that only one thing is the record flag is true, so that it will not read later. But after that 5 minutes, the multiply 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, then else it will run this code. Now let's think about the usage of the record flag. As I mentioned, that else if will run only that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, except 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. But when we meet the 5 minutes, even with 5 minutes, you know that Arduino will send every second, so that only the first time, it means that 5 minutes first second, then the flag, the record flag is true, and also the sensor value length is 6, means that if there is a complete set of the data, so that in that case we just record that output from the Arduino. When I learned real testing, I found that sometimes the sensor only send partial information like a 2 or 3 number. So after that, after my internal test, I put this code sensor value dot length means equal to 6. It means that every minute, this 5 minute, 10 minute, there will be every minute has a 60 seconds. There will be a 60 trials. Among them, there should be a one complete set, so that even first second we get the incomplete data set, but next time we will get the full set of the 6 element. And then we met the complete condition like a 5 minute interval and the first record flag true and all data set, data set, then we can generate the information from the sensor. First thing we will do is that reserve the new row from data table, add row. And second thing is the set into ID. Can you remember ID? We reserve it into the column, the setup, as the first column of the CSV file. This is the internal index sequence number data set, the last row index, so that each ID, each row has a unique index number. So we will put the index number to identify that when you complete that this is the measurement, and we can identify the sequence number from this ID. And next thing we will put that proper that the time information like a year, month, day, hour, minute. And next one is a println, and is for my own internal debugging purpose. I put this one for my internal debugging. This is optional for just for your that reference. It's sometimes useful for that internal debugging to check the value is working. Now next thing is that using the for loop, we can put that each proper value to 6 sensor value. This is an array loop. Actually, this is number length means that the number 6. Actually, that is looping that if cases is a 0, then put the wind voltage information, sensor value 0, and second is the wind 1 speed, and put the second wind value number 1 second value from the sensor value array, and like this way we can put all proper information into the array. And this way we can put the sensor value for the wind speed sensor, speed and voltage, and temperature and humidity value. And after that we change the record flag to first, because we only want to put this one row for 5 minute interval. And as I mentioned before, that if we meet the 5 minute interval, it only recorded first second or the first time to record this information and skip other. And this is an interesting logic which I invented. And then we will change the record flag, and then after that we will increase the reading count one by one, so that the reading count meet 100 times. Means that the number reading and value, then that time we will generate the file itself. The purpose of this way is we'd like to minimize the file I/O for this program. So only 100 record we will put the information to the file. This is the file name convention. First thing is year, month, day, underbar, the last no index, that's ESV. Then it will generate a unique name of file. And after that, it will generate the file itself on the data folder, and then put the file name. Then can you refer that the file itself in real that folder? Let's see, this is the data folder and click, and you can see this way, the year, month, and day on the bar. This is the last unique actually, that sequence number. Then if I open this one, then as you see, there is a header ID to that each value, and then value stored like this way. ID is 012, and then there are the proper that output and measurement output in here. So we can store that output data into the CSV Excel readable file. Still now, well, we've gone over that the source code of the Arduino and the processing. Now we can generate the Excel readable file CSV, so that we will generate the Excel file, so that from next section we will see how we can manipulate and analysis by Excel. Thank you. See you later.
Hello everyone. If you don't subscribe this channel, please click the subscribe button. And please enjoy other contents.